Every attorney has to start somewhere, and for many, that journey begins as a law clerk. From researching cases to sitting in on hearings, we are giving you an inside look at what it's really like to be a clerk at a law firm.
Hi guys, I'm Reese, Jensen.
And I'm Ashley Humphries.
Welcome to Hearsay Anyway, a podcast that aims to simplify the legalese, share the inside scoop on a legal career, and dive into all your legal questions. What is it really like being a law clerk? Today, we spill the details, the work we do, how billing actually works, the email etiquette nobody warns you about, the flow of cases, and the ethical questions that pop up along the way. Grab a coffee and let's get into it.
Hey, I'm Jensen, office manager and producer of this episode, and I'll be asking today's questions. What is a law clerk, and on a typical case, what are the types of things a law clerk would handle?
This is a great question because when I tell people I'm a law clerk, they kind of go, oh, yeah, what is that?
It's a law clerk.
Yeah. And so how I explain it is just that you're a legal intern. I'm in school and I'm working somewhere and they just call me a law clerk. The other misconception is people think I must work with the courts because there's also a judicial law clerk, and that's someone who's out of law school and who's actually working with the court.
I did not know that I was a law clerk when I got hired. I thought it was, summer intern, legal intern, something like that. When Ted started calling me a law clerk, my boss, and I was like, I guess I'm a law clerk. That's cool. I got a new title today.
It sounds fancier.
It does sound fancy. I'm like, yeah, I'm a law. It's an interesting job, though. A lot of research.
Gather a lot of documents often. I'll observe things like hearings. You'll draft things sometimes.
I guess for me, what is interesting about being a law clerk is you're like a baby attorney. You are learning the things to become an attorney. You're shadowing or doing things like research and things that attorneys do, but on a maybe smaller scale with a lot more checks surrounding you.
It's really cool because as I've gone along this summer, I've been given more responsibility, and everything I do is still obviously checked by the attorney that I report into, but you're doing real things that you might actually be doing one day when you do become a lawyer, which is really cool.
To get that experience while you're in law school really does help you come out and be an attorney.
Right, like I've learned all this stuff in school, but that doesn't always cross over into what you do for work. It's a good way to sort of try to bridge that gap.
It is.
Law firms run on professional communication. What are some law firm email conventions you have had to get used to?
Ooh, I got one. When I first started, did not know that everyone in every case needed to be CC'd. So, for instance, if I was emailing the attorney with a question, I was like, oh, I will just send this to the attorney. And then I was told, no, you also need to CC the paralegal, even if it's a question just for the attorney, because the paralegal needs to know what's going on. And that was really hard for my brain to compute. I kept forgetting to CC people.
Do you know the difference between CC and BCC? Because I did not. I had to ask the attorney I work for. And then he told me, apparently, CC is someone that you're copying, and BCC is a blind copy, so no one else can see it. I was like, ooh, sneaky. It's kind of fun.
So far, I haven't had to do that, and I fear I learned that in high school.
You did? No. Well, that's embarrassing. Okay. No. I think also another thing, I can never come up with a good sign-off.
Oh.
Best regards, sincerely. If I'm sending you a petition for divorce, is it sincerely?
Is it sincerely?
Not sure.
Well, it's funny because the attorney I work for, who is also my dad, his signature signed off is regards. But it's funny because when he started using that signature, he would email my mom and I would be like, regards.
I'm your wife.
And he's like, no, it's Otto. She should get sincerely.
Sincerely would be, that is so cute.
So have you guys ever sent any signatures that were creative or a little different?
Okay, so I did once, and it was when they announced a new Toy Story trailer, and I was sending this just to people in the firm, but it was to everyone in the firm, and I ended my email with "to infinity and beyond," Ashley. And no one replied.
That's so cute. Were you in high school when you sent this?
No, this was like 3 weeks ago. You guys didn't reply either.
How do attorney fees and billing work? And what strategies do you use for recording your time?
I think this is something that's interesting and maybe not exclusive to the law profession, but unique. You have to bill for your time. But billing and fees, it depends on what kind of law you're talking about as well. Every time we do a task, we set a timer and we keep track of how much time we are spending on that particular case, that particular client, and then we're tracking what exactly we're doing for that client within the billing description?
I'm sure it's similar, but we bill in 6-minute increments, which is really short. So every 6 minutes, you have to keep track of what you're doing. There's both sides to it because it's good. It provides transparency for the client so they know exactly what they're paying for, because then you have to describe what you did in those 6 minutes.
Right.
Now I set timers through the system we have. But yeah, it's something I didn't know that I would have to do going in as a law clerk.
Right.
Because even if I'm on the case, I have to bill for it if I'm doing something that is substantive for the client.
I think that was something that really surprised me when I came into this job. I was like, what do you mean you need me to bill?
Yeah.
And so I think that was a huge learning curve for me.
That's kind of where you get those stereotypes about lawyers being like money hungry and like, oh, I'm billing you for this like 2-second conversation at like 6-minute rate, and like talking really slow because they know that they can bill more. We talked about this in my legal ethics class, that you are sort of incentivized to go slower, but then at the same time, if you work faster, you get to bill more. So I feel like it evens out in the end.
It's a big thing in law, how you bill is important.
And learning to do it ethically has been something we've been learning this summer.
Can you explain a little bit about what percentage fees and contingency fee billing is?
I personally have not worked on a case like this yet, but my understanding is to charge them a contingency fee, which is essentially where you say, okay, you don't have to pay me right now, but I'm going to work on this case, and if we win, then you have to pay me a percentage of whatever that winning is.
Right.
And there's lots of ethics rules surrounding that as far as what you have to tell the client. It's different for family law, and the reason you don't do it is because there's a rule saying that you can't get a percentage of someone's child payments or alimony.
No, I think that would be coming up against some pretty hard ethical boundaries.
And you also can't do it in criminal law because you can't say, oh, only if you win, and what would you pay?
Paying, I guess, if you get me out of prison. That's a little rocky.
It's a little strange. So that's why it's, I believe, relegated to civil.
And personal injury.
Yeah.
What are typical stages of a case from beginning to end?
With family law, we have clients call in, website inquiries, however they come to us. We then do a conflict check. What a conflict check is running their name to make sure that we don't have any conflicts of interest that would prevent us from representing them fully and capably. And so then we schedule an initial client meeting. I actually know that Ted does free consultation, so shout out to Ted Finn if you want a free divorce consultation. That's just where the client comes in, explains their case, the background, the facts of the case, and we kind of get a sense of whether this would be something that there's all sorts of family law matters, and then we do a client intake sheet that's got all their information on it. After that point, we do some filings, some initial pleadings, and as the case moves on, there's discovery, which is both sides sharing information with each other, and then we move on to hearings and all that fun stuff. What's about civil litigation?
Honestly, quite similar. We'll get clients, the cool thing about this firm is that most of our clients come from referrals. That means that someone who we've represented in the past or are currently representing thinks we're good and recommends their friend or whoever it is to talk to us about their issues, see if this is something we want to take on. And if we do, then we have them sign an agreement and put up a retainer. Right?
They do have to pay eventually.
and then for civil, it really depends on the type of case. If it's something that we think needs to go to trial, but no matter what, you're going to try and gather as much information as you can to trying to figure out what needs to go next. If it is a case that does need to perhaps go to trial, then that means eventually you file a complaint with the court. There's lots of motion practice that goes back and forth. You have to also go through discovery where you, like you said, share information both sides. Sometimes cases will settle, which means that the parties come to an agreement outside of court. But if not, then it'll go before a judge and you'll have a trial that can be weeks long, it can be a day long, it can be in front of a jury, or it can be what's called a bench trial where it's just in front of a judge. And then you get the judgment afterwards. And then beyond that, you can do the appeals process. And so some cases can, last a decade. And then other cases, you might figure out it's a simple problem and resolve it in a couple of weeks.
You're going to scare the folks a decade.
I know. It's rare. It is rare. But you never know. I think people see TV shows where someone walks in the door and they're like, we're going to trial tomorrow. And that's not how it works.
It is crazy how long civil litigation drags out. It's not very long for family law in general. Can you explain a little bit more about, you mentioned retainers and how those work?
It's something I'm still learning about. So this is just my current understanding, but what you'll do is you'll sign the fee agreement and then put up a retainer. And that money, it could be, $1,000, could be $5,000. So that's put into a trust. That money cannot be touched at the end of each month. All of those fee billing hours that we were just talking about will be calculated and accumulated and then applied against that money. And then the client will have to refill that $5,000 retainer. And that continues until trial. And it's just a way to make sure both that the attorney gets paid if the client refuses to pay or can't pay, and also that that money is in trust so that it can be returned to the client and it's not just, in someone's personal bank account. In the attorney's account.
I think that's also where good client management comes into play, of setting expectations and letting them know up at front, which is, I think, something that the attorney I work for does a great job of. Letting them know, hey, look, I'm going to be real with you. This is how much I think that it might take to get to your case. This is how much it could take. This is, being realistic with them.
How do you handle client confidentiality, and are there any ethical dilemmas you've come across?
Ooh,
it's an interesting question.
Yes. Okay. So one thing I don't know people know about, but if you are an attorney or anyone who works at a law firm, you have a duty of confidentiality, which means that you can't talk about your client's cases to anyone outside the firm.
Right.
It's kind of a big thing. It's a way that lawyers get in trouble a lot of times.
It is.
And it makes sense. It's tough though, because when you're talking with your friends and they're all talking about what they're doing at work, and then they ask you, you can say very general things. I could say, I have a
divorce case.
A personal injury case, or I drafted a motion to dismiss this week, but you can't say, I'm Billy Bob and he, lost his arm in this tractor accident or whatever it is. You can't give specifics or identifiers.
It's tough.
What similarities or differences have there been in working in a law firm than going to law school?
I think that for me, law school hasn't been the most relevant to what I do at the firm and being a law clerk. I guess the strategies of knowing how to research, knowing what research is, using Westlaw, using Lexis, things like that have been helpful.
It's a hard question because law school is in many respects to prepare you to be a lawyer, but mainly to prep you for the bar. But what they say about specifically the first year of law school is that they're teaching you to think like a lawyer.
Exactly.
So I think what you said about learning strategies and how to research cases and what to look for, I think that's been the most useful thing about law school, is teaching you that mindset. There's so much to learn.
But that's the great part about working for attorneys that we do. They both have so much experience that we can kind of glean off of.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's been so fun to hear what you have to say about being a law clerk, and I think we both learned some new things.
Yeah, it's been fun hearing your takes too. I think this has been my favorite episode so far.
Yes, and to our listeners, I hope you learned more about what law clerks do. Thank you so much for listening to Hearsay Anyway, and stay tuned for more.